Kylian Mbappé, 27 years old. He's no longer just a star, but the heavy burden on the back of an entire nation. He's the captain. He's the top scorer. He's the only man expected to be the savior. He's one goal away from breaking France's all-time scoring record. History is waiting for him before the tournament has even started. The psychological shadow over him is heavy. In the 2022 final, he scored a hat-trick, put on one of the most extraordinary performances in football history, and still lost. The devastation he went through as Messi lifted the trophy is still fresh in everyone's memory. Now everyone is asking, will Mbappé finish the job this time, or will he stumble at the final step once again? There's one more pressure. This is Deschamps' last tournament. He wants to say goodbye to the coach who made him a world champion with a trophy. At Real Madrid, he's now at the center of the galactic system, at the very peak of his career. 20, he carries this team on his own and lifts the trophy, making his legend untouchable, or the label of the man who loses finals sticks to him permanently. Mbappé carries an entire nation. The next name is the complete opposite of him, someone who has nothing to lose, but has won everything. Ousmane Dembélé, 29 years old. This man was practically saved at the very last moment from becoming football's greatest example of wasted talent. For years, he struggled with constant injuries, was associated with indiscipline, and was always a topic of debate for showing up late to training. While Barcelona labeled him the glass man, his career was turning into a massive disappointment. But everything shifted when he transferred to PSG. He stepped into the most mature, most devastating period of his career and won the Ballon d'Or in 2025. The troubled man, who was said to be throwing his talent in the trash a few years ago, is today officially the best footballer in the world, an unstoppable elite winger who uses both feet with the same perfection and collapses defenses all on his own. The most critical question at the tournament is this: which Dembélé will show up on the pitch? The absolute best at his peak, or that old version who gets injured and disappears at critical moments? In 2026, his job is clear: to justify the Ballon d'Or and carry France. If he stays fit throughout the tournament, he's the one weapon who can make this team champions. Dembélé took his seat at the top late. The next name, despite being at the very start of his road, has already set his eyes on that throne. Olise, 24 years old. The very fact that he's playing for France is a subject of debate on its own. France, England, Nigeria, Algeria, all four wanted him. He played in England's youth setups. Everyone thought he was English, but at the last moment, he chose France. There are still people in England saying they stole him from us. The real question is this: why was this talent noticed so late? At a mid-table team like Crystal Palace, he quietly did brilliant things for years, and nobody talked about him on the big stage. Then Bayern Munich signed him, and he exploded. Now, he's one of the 2026 Ballon d'Or contenders. Between the goals he scores cutting in from the right, his assists, and that set-piece mastery, suddenly everyone started asking, where was this kid? The bitter part is that France's attack is so loaded that Olise might not even start. With Mbappé, with Dembélé, one of the best wingers in the world could end up on the bench. In 2026, his job is clear: to make a difference every minute he steps on and force Deschamps to rely on him. Olise has only just set his eyes on the throne, but there's a long queue in front of him. The next name is even younger than him and has already become one of the names the whole world is talking about. Désiré Doué, 21 years old. This kid became a world star overnight. Just a few years ago, he was an ordinary young talent at Rennes. Then PSG signed him and his life changed. In 2025, the season the team won its first ever Champions League, he was one of the brightest faces, stepped onto the stage in the final, and everyone learned his name. The real question is right here: is this real or just a one-season flash? Football history is full of young talents who exploded for one season and then vanished. Doué hasn't proven this yet. His career is just beginning, and the road ahead of him is as long as the expectation on his shoulders. The hard part: France's attack is overflowing with stars. Between Mbappé, Dembélé, and Olise, Doué might not even force his way into the starting 11 before he's even fully settled at his club. He's facing the toughest competition in the world in the national team. In 2026, his job is clear: to show in the limited minutes he gets that he's ready for the big stage. This tournament is a showcase for him, the line between guaranteeing his future or becoming just another name who peaked too early. Doué saw the summit at a very young age. The next name is just like him, but a wonder kid who's been awaited as about to explode for much longer. Rayan Cherki, 22 years old. This name has been a riddle on the tongue of the football world for years. They called him the French Messi when he was still a child, and he was held up as the greatest talent to come out of Lyon's academy. The dribbles and assists he posted on social media broke view records. But here's the real issue: all these years have passed, and he still hasn't turned that talent into real success. He played for years at Lyon. He had brilliant moments, but consistency never came. His critics always said the same thing: hugely talented, but indecisive, undisciplined, can't carry a match. The potential is enormous. enormous, but the end product was always missing. In 2025, Manchester City signed him. Once Guardiola's hand touches him, maybe that raw talent will finally turn into a useful weapon. But the truth is, even Cherki's place in this loaded France squad is debatable. With names like Camavinga being cut, his selection raised eyebrows. In 2026, his job is clear: to say, "I belong here," in the brief moments he gets on the pitch. This tournament is the answer to whether he becomes a wasted talent or a late-blooming genius. Cherki is still busy trying to prove himself. The next name, on the contrary, is someone quiet who knows exactly what he's doing and carries the surname of a legend. Marcus Thuram, 28 years old. This man was bound to football history the moment he was born. His father, Lilian Thuram, was that legendary defender who made France world champions in 1998. Marcus steps onto the pitch carrying the direct legacy of a World Cup. The interesting part is that his father never pushed him into football and even steered him towards judo and fencing, yet he chose this path anyway. Carrying a legend's surname isn't easy. For years, he lived under the pressure of he can't be as good as his father, but he wrote his own story. He went from Mönchengladbach to Inter for free, formed a lethal partnership with Lautaro there, and reached a Champions League final. His father was a defender. He's the complete opposite. A modern forward who overpowers with his physique, creates space, and scores. The one criticism is this: his scoring rate in the national team is debatable, and it's said he doesn't produce enough in big matches. Still, Deschamps trusts him. He said we'd pick him even if his father wasn't Lilian. In 2026, his job is clear: to create space next to Mbappé, keep defenses busy, and finish when needed. Maybe he'll even play on the same pitch as his brother Kefren and write the Thuram surname into history once again. Marcus found his own way in the shadow of a legend. The next name is the real boss of France's midfield: Aurélien Tchouaméni, 26 years old. Real Madrid signed him from Monaco for over 80 million euros as the heir to Casemiro. He was the future of France's midfield, but over the last year, things went wrong. His performances became questionable, and he's expected to leave the club this summer. On top of that, last month he got into such a fierce fight with Valverde in training that both were fined. He's being talked about not just for his form, but for his off-the-pitch image too. But here's the truth. On his day, he's still an elite number 6, a monster in aerial duels, a master at winning the ball, a shield who reads the game before it unfolds. In 2026, his job is clear: to protect France's midfield. This tournament is a chance at redemption for him. He can erase all the criticism with a single good tournament. Tchouaméni fights under pressure. The next and final name is perhaps the most underrated player in this squad: Bradley Barcola, 23 years old. This man is the most underrated name in this squad, but when you look at his stats, that's very strange. He's only 23, and there's almost no trophy he hasn't won. Back-to-back Champions Leagues, and all the trophies of a PSG side sweeping aside the French league. What most players never see in an entire career, he collected at the very start of his. The criticism is always the same. Is this kid really this good, or just an ordinary piece shining inside that giant PSG system? He came out of Lyon, went to PSG, and when Mbappé left, everyone asked, what happens now? He answered on the pitch. That season, he became PSG's league top scorer. He filled the void, and quietly at that. Here's the truth. With his pace, his direct running, and the way he cuts inside from the left wing, he's a winger who's hard to stop. But in France's parade of stars, Mbappé, Dembélé, Olise, Doué, even forcing his way into the starting 11 is a fight. In 2026, his job is clear: to say, I'm here too, at every chance he gets on the pitch. This tournament is where he'll prove whether he's a child of the system or a real star. So here they are, France, heading to the 2026 World Cup. The world's number 1, star upon star, but above all of them, a single dream: to win back that trophy they lost to Messi in the 2022 final. Mbappe's revenge, Dembele's peak, the hunger of an entire army. So do you think this France can lift the cup, or will they fall at the final step again? Drop your side and your favourite player in the comments.